Hello, and welcome to Curious Herbalism. I'm your host, Kenya T. Coviak. And if you've never heard of magical herbalism, then you're probably not my age because when I was younger, one of the first things I learned when I followed my pagan herb journey was I read books by Scott Cunningham. And he had a specific book called Magical Herbalism. And it piqued my interest in my little young heart. And I set off on a road and I've never looked back. Now, we're talking about folk magic on this particular show. We're not going to be talking about closed practices because I know that a lot of people get worried about that kind of thing. I'm only going to teach you what I know. And what I know and a gumball might get you to be a pretty practically competent magician as far as herbs go and a gumball. Okay, so today's episode is about lemongrass. Now, believe it or not, this is all one plant still going. Woo! Of lemongrass. If you buy it at the store, you're probably used to seeing it like this in a little pot. No, I am not endorsed by Burpee, but I do buy lemongrass on occasion to save it, and I needed a small one for the show, so I did purchase this one. Now, to be fair, lemongrass is usually well watered, and it's a lot larger this time of year. Yeah, no, not in the grocery stores, especially not in July. You're not going to find it well watered. You're not going to find it well loved. If you go to a nursery, you can probably find it that way. But right now, not so much. This little guy or girl was just so dry, and the dirt was far away from the sides of the pot, and it was basically, if it could have spoken, the dirt would have went because it had no water. It was so bad. But with a little love and care, you can bring almost any plant back as long as you know how to take care of it and give it a little bit of TLC. Now, my husband is usually the one that keeps things alive best. I usually am, well, the reaper. But that being said, I do love my plants, and I especially love to use them in magic. So I want to share that journey with you, and maybe we'll get you on a road that you had not taken before or thought about blah, taking seriously. But I hope you do, and I hope that the time we spend together here is enjoyable, and I hope that I have the grace given to me by the powers that be able to share a little bit of magic with me and you in this world. Okay, that all being said, let's get to the point, right? Because you're here to learn about lemongrass. So, lemongrass is actually from Sri Lanka. Okay, not every piece of lemongrass is from Sri Lanka, but in general, it's from Sri Lanka. It's from that area of the world. And we brought it here because we do that. Who's going to check us? Who's going to check me? I'm going to grow my lemongrass and I'm going to enjoy it. And you can't stop me. And no one can stop you. You probably experienced lemongrass in food more than anything else. If you are a lover of food that comes from south of the US border and inside of the US actually at this point, you may have eaten food with lemongrass in it. It is an aromatic. It is wonderful to add to different kinds of soups as well as different sorts of stir fries with almost every kind of meat. So lemongrass has probably been on your diet, especially if you taste a little bit of lemon flavoring and there's no lemons to be seen. You don't see any wedges over here. Okay, so how do we use it in magic though? Well, the first thing is, like with anything else that we can eat, it's important to remember that lemongrass is an aromatic. Oh, did I lose you? I think I did. Just a moment. I've got a little glitch here. Are you still there? Yes, you are. Okay. Lemongrass is an aromatic, which means that it has a very strong aroma, which can be given to flavor. How can you use this in magic? Well, for my kitchen witches, you know that anything you can eat that's a magical herb, you can enchant. And when you use magic, we have to remember there are three things involved: knowledge, power, and intent. But more about that in another episode. We're going to talk about it quite a bit. But those three things, knowledge, power, and intent, make a big difference when you're doing any kind of magic, even kitchen magic. And you need to respect the kitchen witches. They play with your food. That's right. Okay, so what would I do if I were using lemongrass? Well, I mean, it depends on, am I a good witch or an morally ambiguous witch? You see, I'm saying that because lemongrass is also used in spells for glamour. So if I were to add it to a food and feed it to someone, and I wanted them to see me in a certain light, I would enchant the lemongrass before I cooked with it, put it in the food, and feed it to my target or person that I intend to manifest my intentions of direction. Okay, so what else can we do with lemongrass other than eating it? I mean, there's so many things you can do. Right now, I am burning a cauldron, a large brass cauldron near my feet. And inside that cauldron, I have a self lighting charcoal and I have a few bundles of lemongrass. And I'm saying a few bundles because I make small bundles for this purpose, but you can make large ones as well. And that kind of clears out energy. Lemongrass is used in Van oil. That is one of the blends that you will find in Hoodoo and African American Edo's Conjure, to be specific. I'm in my garden right now, and it's a little far for me to do it, but we usually grow our lemongrass in the front. But now, there's a reason we place the lemongrass in the front, and it's not just because it's pretty. Growing lemongrass in the front of your home or of your property as part of your overall living ward system, and you're going to hear me talk about that a lot, your living ward system, is a way to obscure your property so that people do not come by who are unwanted, unwelcome, or full of mischief. Because, some people just live to burn the world down, and that's not what we want. So remember, lemongrass has the power of glamour, which also means the power of illusion and the power of misdirection. But why is that? Why do we feel this way about lemongrass? Well, let's look at it astrologically. Let's get into that just a little bit. Astrologically, lemongrass is ruled by Mercury. Okay, so before you come for me, I just want to point out at this moment that just because I say lemongrass is ruled by Mercury or falls under the domain of Mercury, that doesn't mean that other systems of astrology or star watching and correspondence do not apply. I am only assigning this to Western common astrological interpretation. Basically, standard astrological operating procedure, not standard Wiccan operating procedure, which, by the way, that particular phrase is something that I learned from Damian Wilborn here in Michigan. I always try to give credit where credit is due, and that is definitely something I learned from her. You should check it out. Very good teacher, if you can catch her. But back to what we were talking about. So, planting it in the front, again, as part of your magical living ward system. Excuse me, I'm a little very warm here. It's very warm. can definitely help you with hiding and protecting your property. Lemongrass can stay this size and just a little bushier, or it can become a monster. If it becomes a monster, you have enough to harvest to make it into a basket or a container or in the cords. Why would I want a basket? And you don't even have to weave it only from lemongrass. You can weave it in and out of an existing basket in order to what? Conceal something you would like to help keep hidden or hard to find. You can make a lemongrass candle to purpose for the same thing. Checking my notes. Okay, so let's talk about some other spells you can do with lemongrass. You can make a wash, make an infusion, not a decoction. It's not that thick of a plant. An infusion of lemongrass. If you've never made a magical infusion, here's a quick way to do it. Get some boiling water, put it into a container, place your herb into the hot water, and leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Set it and forget it. Then cover it up and let it just steep in. But that's just the mechanical side. You have to put in the magical side. The magical side is you have to tell it what you want it to do. You can't just run around just throwing things everywhere. Although there is a school of thought that says the herb is already programmed to do what you want it to do because it's part of its nature. So trying to, you know, make it where you have to talk to it is sort of like gilding the lily, but it's your choice. I'm not the boss of you. I can't tell you what to do. What do I know? I'm just sitting in the garden, setting things on fire in a corncob pipe, and it don't even smoke. Actually, I use that for mullein because I have asthma, and the smoke has been very, what is the word? Interesting. But lemongrass helps with that too, because I often make bundles of lemongrass and smoke cleansing the home to rebalance the energies. Because not only is it good for concealment, or rather glamour and misdirection, it can also clear things up, and it's lemony. And what else is lemony? I am not going to mention that certain water. The Florida water, I said it anyway, does contain lemongrass. So this is something you can add to your own as one of the aromatics. If you'd like to learn more about lemongrass, you can find it anywhere. If you'd like to purchase or grow lemongrass, you can either go to your local nursery or, if you're lucky, maybe your local Mexican grocery store or Hispanic grocery store, because they're not necessarily the same, may have lemongrass on sale. Oftentimes the root is cut off, but not always. If you're lucky, you'll get it. And lastly, you can check it out and purchase some from a New Moon 22 here in Michigan and New Baltimore. That's a plug. Also, come check us out at the Michigan Witches Ball and Bazaar. I'm sure somebody will be selling lemongrass there too. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you coming by, especially when it's so nice outside. I've been sweating all day. So the next thing I'm going to do before I leave you is let you know one last thing. Did you know that you can make lemongrass into a refreshing iced tea? You sure can. If you enjoyed this episode and there's a specific herb you'd like us to cover, please let me know. I'm always approachable, and the people here are wonderful. I think that's just about all I have time for today. Our shows are always 15 minutes long, so make sure you catch them. And don't forget to catch what else is coming up. It's really exciting. Join me here again today and tomorrow and the next day. Not really. I just want you to replay the episode. Just replay the episode all the time. Here on Curious Herbalism with Kenya T. Coviak. Keep it green. And if it's lemongrass, be unseen.